Brian, we are yet another episode into the Visionary Corner. And I've got to tell you, I absolutely love these sessions, and our audience and community love it, which is even more important. So, Brian, something that people are finding massive value out of these sessions with is the stuff you share in context of business, right? People who have medium-sized business, they're scaling their business, smaller businesses, people who are starting. And a question we've been receiving quite a bit is, in the previous episode, you spoke about energy testing and you spoke about how to choose a right team. So today I wanted to ask you, how exactly do you make sure that you are choosing the right team to work with in the organization?
I just tell Lisa and Stephen and they get the right people. Oh, you mean like initially? No, listen, guys, I'm very blessed. I have an incredible team. I don't do a lot of sourcing of team. My natural energy kind of just attracts my own natural energy. And if there were lots of me around, we'd just have more chaos. So, yeah, I mean, so we have a very particular process now. But I think the thing that's most important to understand, and excuse me, that a lot of people don't get is you attract the right team. Especially as a small business, you attract the right team. You need to get clear on your vision. You need to get clear on the values of your business. You need to get clear on who you are, and you need to be authentic to who you are. Now, it's not like we're in our business, we're busy instigating a whole lot of primary values, but we're a bit evolved. You know, we've got 22 full-time staff, we've got incredible coaches and guides. And so we're doing all these crazy things. Candace will know we have to recite and talk about values in different meetings and write chapters of books and do all types of stuff. And that's actually like our team is going to get inundated with these values the whole year. You know, like every time they meet, every week, they're going to be talking about them because that's how we ingrain them. And they talk about how they, you know, like we spoke last week about solution orientated. That's one of our core values. And they talk about how that comes into play. So a lot of people echoed that in the meetings last week after the challenge we had. So, but that's actually like a second phase. When we talk about the primary values, they come from ourselves. So my values are connection, learning, and travel. And our business connects people on a learning journey on a global basis. So firstly, there's an alignment between me as the founder and what we do as a company. Secondly, there's the vision, in our case, to connect 1 million people on learning journeys on a global basis. So there's the vision of what we want to achieve. And we define connecting people in a particular way in terms of them investing into themselves. And, you know, we actually had to really articulate with our team, ironically, how big that vision was, because it doesn't seem that big in the bigger context of things. But the point is, when you're clear about that vision, and again, as small business owners, you might be clear about it, but your team aren't. So keep telling them, keep bugging them, put it in every single presentation, every single time you talk to them. Let me just remind you about our values. Let me just remind you about what we do. Let me just remind you about our vision so that it becomes very ingrained in people. But you've got to be authentic, guys, because some people draw up these things and don't live anywhere near what they are. When you are authentic to who you are and you live in your purpose through your business, you will start to attract people that want to be part of that. They want to support your vision. Not everybody is a creative mind that has to operate their own business. Many people, like many in our team, are really happy to be part of a bigger vision that they can be part of. And this is not my vision, it's our vision as a team to go out there and achieve something. And so then what happens is, like, people start to come to you, especially in the short term. You start to notice people are like really saying, geez, I'm loving what you're doing. I can't wait to be part of this. And so when I think of, in hindsight, when I think of how Lisa, who's our head of team, or Stephen, who's our CEO, came into the business, it's almost like we could write a book about it. I mean, Stephen was a coaching student of ours, blah, 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 blah. He started to help us develop a few technical things. The next minute, he's like running the business. So and Stephen's highest value, by the way, is to make a business work properly. So he saw an opportunity in somebody he loved, meeting many of his values, but he got the opportunity. I gave him the freedom to go and make a business operate, and gave him the freedom to make a lot of choices and decisions, which was my understanding as well of making sure he's living within his values. So his loyalty to the business is massive. He's now a major shareholder and everything as well. I think the key thing is we attract people. So who we become then attracts people towards us. And That's where we start. Now we're a bigger company. I still believe the attraction's there a lot of the time, but we still go through a process. We go through more of a dedicated process now in terms of interviewing and checking values and checking alignment and stuff like that. But don't kid yourself. If you got a wrong team, you attracted the wrong team. If you got the right team, you attracted the right team. And it takes huge amounts of concerted effort to create the environment for a team to thrive. And, you know, some of that is maturity. Because I'm a terrible disruptor, so I can really make teams' lives misery if I'm like trying to micromanage or be in charge of things. But my maturity and understanding of who I am and those faults that can lead to a negative environment let me let go of things and make sure that we ultimately try and keep a positive environment in place. So be authentic, know who you are, run your business authentically to who you are, create a vision, let people be drawn into it, find those few key people at the beginning in order for them to become part of that team because they believe in your vision, they have similar values, and their values get served by your business. And then you can evolve it to starting to develop more of a strategic approach to make sure you're constantly bringing in the right fit into the business. There's no such thing as a person who can't produce results in life, guys. There's no such thing as a lazy person. There's no such thing as a person that doesn't have value. It's just that not everyone's going to have value in your space. And so you have to, number one, attract the people that are going to get the value out of being in your space, but most importantly, create the environment for them to thrive. I think many times I've coached companies who go like, oh, my team are useless. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with your team. Have you noticed you had team and then you got rid of them and then you had team and then you got rid of them and you had team? What's the common denominator here? Not the team, because you keep changing them. The common denominator is you. And we are the chokeholds of our own business. And one of the ways we do that is by not focusing on an environment for people to thrive. Excuse me. People do not work for money. People work for experience, not experience that they gain in, experience that they live in. So, we must understand this, that we think because we pay people stuff, they must just do the job right. The truth is, if you don't give them an environment to thrive, to live true to their values, to gain what's important to them in life by working in your business, you're not going to sustain them. So we let good people go, especially in the early days in business, because we just haven't created an environment. Good people come and go. But it's okay, because everything serves us in the long run. But just, I get so frustrated when I hear people like, oh, I've got such idiots working for me. These people are useless. I'm like, I'm just like, that classic, there's three fingers pointed back at you. Like, yeah, who's the useless one? And that's a big responsibility for business owners to take on. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-reflection to realize, wait a minute, what about me is either attracting the wrong people or not enabling good people to actually be good, making good people bad because of my environment or because of the way I am. And so, yeah, it's not an easy one to answer, Candace. Like success to me, it's all about you. You are the chokehold, as Tony Robbins said. Chokehold, think about it. You, the business owner. Because if you don't, for instance, take that responsibility to become a better version of yourself and to create an environment for people to thrive and to attract the right people, it's never going to happen. It's never going to work. You're going to be going through staff like crazy. You're going to get a reputation of not being a nice person, even though you think you are. And you're just not going to be able to expand or grow your business because of your limitations that you created on it from a construct. So at the end of the day, become the best version of yourself. Humble yourself. Say, how do I learn to become a leader, for goodness sakes. You have to be a leader if you're going to be an entrepreneur. And the first person you're going to lead is yourself in that journey of becoming the best version of yourself.
Oh, the first person you will lead is yourself. I think that is so, so important. And Brian, I know when I, started joining the team, that there were a couple of things I had to even, ensure that I was a proper fit. Even though, I'd meet with you, I'd meet with Stephen, there were still some tests I had to undergo. And I remember thinking, I thought I had this in the bag. No, but do you want to tell the audience a little bit about what kind of testing you take people through in a practical way and why that is so important before you actually bring them into the organization?
So many years ago, I met a guy called Roger Hamilton who had developed something called Walsh Dynamics. We now use something called Contribution Compass. Same thing. It's what we call a natural energy testing. It originates from ancient Chinese understanding of natural energy, and the book of I Ching, which is basically loosely translated to the book of changes. Trust the Chinese thousands of years ago to be figuring out life while our ancestors were trying to figure out what caves should do and what have you. That's not the right, by the way, guys, I'm just joking there, because we weren't in caves 3,000-4,000 years ago. It was a bit before that. So don't take it too seriously. But it is kind of amazing when I look at like European ancestry and what we were doing versus what the Chinese were doing in terms of understanding life. And this is great. We're all interconnected, so we don't have to take ownership of it regardless of who we are. But they were writing incredible scripts about, energy and how we can integrate with that. And by the way, the ancient tribes knew a lot of the stuff, they just didn't document it. So the Chinese were the first real ancient tribes and started to document stuff. Enough about the history. The core thing is, it's not something that somebody made up recently. It's something that we understand. Energy is universal, and there are different types of energy. And so in business, Roger started in Wealth Dynamics really simplifying the context to the 4 core energies: intuitive, innovative energy versus sensory grounded energy, people energy versus system energy. Now, these are not the Chinese terms, obviously, in terms of the hexagrams and what have you. This is just, the context of how we put it into play. And to be fair to Roger, he's half Chinese, and his mom was the one that gave him a lot of this grounding. But there is this understanding. So there's these natural energies, and we have all energies in us. Let's just be clear. We all have all energies in us. But at the end of the day, we have a primary energy, or a primary profile, as we call it. So we create 8 profiles around these 4 primary energies. And when there's time of crisis, we mentioned that in a previous session, we tend to lean towards what our natural energy is. So in simple terms, your intuitive energy, or innovative energy, is up at the top. It's where people up there kind of head in the clouds, lots of ideas, lots of opportunities, see everything. I've got lots of friends like that. We're pains in the butt, because we're fun for short doses, but you hang around us too long and we talk your heads off, and you're like, oh my God, I just need a rest. And then the right energy is the people energy. So like Lisa, head of team, we have a number of right energies in our team. And they're always seeing things from a perspective of people and team and how to get the best out of people. The opposite to that is the sensory energy, which is so important. I mean, not the sensory, the system energy, which is so important in business, because those are the people that do analytics and look at the numbers and make sure everything makes sense. You tend to find people energy. It's one of the common things when you ask them, so what do you guys feel about admin? They're like, feel a bit ill right now that you just mentioned the word spreadsheet. No, don't say it too often. They'd rather connect with people and talk to people than they would sort of, write down things. And it's quite difficult in sales, because you tend to want people selling, but then, for effective sales, you need a system, and they need to document sales process, and that freaks them out. But people are critical in a business, as are system people, as are innovative people, as are grounded people. So we like to call those the sustainers, people sustaining energy, which are people that get things done consistently. And it's interesting. So these tests, contribution compass, like I said, is the one we use. You can Google it if you want to find it. Or Wealth Dynamics, which was the one we used to use. They give you an understanding of what your primary natural energy is and your breakup of those energies. Now it's 10% about you and 90% about everyone else. In other words, when you're building a team, and by the way, energy is not genetic or anything. So it's like you can't really test young kids, but Roger was always really good at being able to determine in young kids what the energies were. And there is a lot of movements around actually working with children in this, because your energy pretty much stays with you for life. And how we approach things, how we, like in Head in the Clouds person, we're very spontaneous. Hey, Candace, let's go away this weekend. It's tomorrow. Cool. No, off we go. Candace and I pack your bags. Candace forgot that she has a wedding on Saturday because she didn't even bother to look at the calendar. She just thought it was a great idea to go away for the weekend, Whereas a sensory person is always that party pooper who goes, I'll come back to you on that. You're like, I don't want to, I want to execute now. Come on, we're going, And so sensory people are always more level-headed. They think a bit slower, not in a bad way, in a good way. They talk a bit slower. They're grounded. And so you need all of those energies in business. So the power in this energy sequence and this understanding of natural energy is to not only do certain energies do better in certain ways, like Candace is our head of brand at Real Success, and she's an incredible brand herself. And that's what she's a champion energy in Contribution Compass. And champion energies can either shine the light on themselves, so they can, become, make themselves very prominent, like an Oprah or whatever. But Oprah was also brilliant at shining the light on everyone else. And so champion energies are excellent in marketing and brand, etc. And I think, Candice, you're one of those beautiful mixture energies as well, where you can make it about yourself and really expand your brand, but also make it about shining on all our speakers and the other brands and people you connect with. And that's a classic champion energy. Now, if I say to Candice, go and, fill out 25 spreadsheets and work out how we do this, and go and, do all this kind of like boring, repetitive stuff, it's just like, not like her hair color actually changes out of frustration, so that's like that. By the way, that hair changes depending on her mood. It's kind of cool. It's like a mood ring. Wouldn't that be amazing? So yeah, so natural energy, it's I normally teach the concept of it in over an hour. So I'm giving you a very short version, but it's very powerful. Like, we want the right people in the right positions, and we want a collective energy across the business, so that our customer support is, which is more sensory energy, because it's timing in customer. A lot of people make the mistake thinking customer support is people energy, but really in 99% of customer queries, people just want things resolved really quickly. And your sensory energy is very much timing based. So we actually make sure most of our customer support is down in the sensory space, because that way they know that if they say, hey, Candice, thanks for your query, I'll get back to you. They will say, I'll get back to you tomorrow, and they'll get back to them before the end of the day. But your higher energies, like myself and Candice, we'll go like, we'll get back to you. We won't actually commit, or we'll say, we'll get back to you on Wednesday. We just didn't say which Wednesday. It was just like, because we get distracted easily. We're more likely to be ADD at the top than at the bottom. It's profound though, because when you mix those energies, you have to understand them as well, because they can rub you up the wrong way. Like we joked about, the sensory energy, they actually, each energy asks a question. So our top energy asks what are we going to do? The people energy obviously asks who's going to do it. The sensory energy asks when, and then the buggers on the left, they ask how, the most complex question. Now, that's their natural question. So when I come to a team meeting and I'm going, let's do this, the guys on the left are immediately going, how are we going to do that? The guys on the right are going, do we have the people to do that? The guys at the bottom are going like, do we have the time to do that? And I'm like completely oblivious to all of that, because I never thought of any of those things. And so, one of my maturities in energy was actually to slow myself down and catch myself, and have rules in the business. If I come up with an idea, I have to think of it for 7 days before I share it. I have to put it in writing, because otherwise I go off on tangents, and then we haven't even got one project going and we're already trying to run 4 other projects. Anyway, I can talk about it for hours. Do yourself a favor, Contribution Compass, just Google it. And you guys will find out all the stuff there. Carl and his team are amazing. And use this. It's one of the most powerful tools that we find in business. And because it's a test, it really gives some certainty as to the decisions we make. We won't hire a single person. I don't even date people, and that's a literal fact, without knowing what their energy is. No, because I know how to better understand them and deal with them and you generally attract opposites. So you're not attracting your same energy. Otherwise that drives you nuts. My ex was my same energy, and like we're better as friends now, because we only spend a little bit of time together. We spend too much time together, we drive each other nuts. So yeah, it's a great tool to determine how to interact with people, how to connect with people, and how to build a team. So I'd highly recommend it.
Oh, that was so useful, Brian. And I could have actually listened to that masterclass. I loved hearing you explain it. I knew the energy systems, because of course in the test it tells you the different energies, but I just loved how you brought it into practical terms, so that people can see people in their organizations and be like, that person is much more, centered and people focused. That person is waste systems. Like you said, like if as soon as you want to let me go, Brian, all you have to do if you want me to leave on my own is be like, Candice, we need you to do spreadsheets. I'll be like, well, my time here has been lovely. I will leave. Thank you so much for this incredible session, Brian, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.